Hi everyone, first of all let me say thanks very much for watching, I really do appreciate it. Welcome to the second in my series of short videos about the tremendously interesting subject of leisure batteries. For those of you that watched it, you'll know that the last video was about the sorts of batteries that are commonly available for your motorhome, and in this video we're going to look at the sorts of things you really ought to be considering when choosing a battery for your own motorhoming needs. Now, if you feel at any point during the video that you'd like to subscribe, you can do so by clicking the little icon down in the right hand corner of the screen there. Glorious, isn't it? I'm sitting here on the south bank of the Tor just before it joins the River Torridge down there and flows out into the Atlantic. Hang on a second. Sorry? And you are? Well, I don't think making a film about leisure batteries can be called pornography, can it? No. No, the batteries won't fit your model car. No. No, I haven't got any Duracells for sale. Okay, take care, bye. Sorry about that. Yeah, and behind me over there is RMB, Royal Marine Base Chivener, and behind that is Braunton, which allegedly is the largest village in the UK. So why am I sitting here in the sun talking to you about leisure batteries? Well, it's the ideal place really to illustrate why you need to put a bit of thought into the sort of leisure battery you need for your motorhoming needs. Because within 5 miles of this spot here are at least a dozen high quality campsites with high current hookups, but also within a few miles of here are, if you know where to look, some really nice wild campsites where you can go off grid. And of course, depending on what your needs are, whether you wild camp or whether you hook up, will make a big difference to what sort of leisure battery you need. So let's get stuck straight in. Shades or no shades? The trouble is, when I don't have the shades on, I squint, and I know I look amazingly hyper cool even for an old bloke when I got my shades on. So I'm going to keep them on, even though the received wisdom when you're doing a vlog is not to wear sunglasses. So, what considerations should you make when choosing a leisure battery for your motorhome, for your motorhoming needs? Well, in my opinion, there are 4 main ones, which I shall go through in a little bit of detail, and there are a few secondary considerations, which I shall go through in some detail if I've got the time and if I haven't bored myself. So what are the main ones? Well, the main ones in no particular order are your budget, the flexibility you've got as to where you install the battery in your motorhome, what type of use you put your motorhome to, in other words whether you spend a lot of time while camping or hooked up, and fourthly how much work you are going to put your battery do for you. Now, you can't really look at any one of those in isolation. You've got to look at all 4 together when making any kind of educated assessment of the sort of battery you need. So let's go through them in order, starting with the budget. Again, that should be fairly self-explanatory. So if your budget is tight and you're intending to spend a lot of time off grid with all the accessories on, then something's going to have to give. And that means either you will have to buy a lead acid battery, which is cheaper than absorb a glass mat battery and forego some of the benefits of the AGM battery, or you may have to accept that you're going to spend a few fewer nights off grid, or you could go for a lower quality battery which has a higher capacity and accept it might not last as long. The second thing is the flexibility you have where you install your battery in your motorhomes. So in some of the newer motorhomes, or most newer motorhomes, the leisure battery fits in a bespoke little cubicle which has specific dimensions for the battery. So you're going to be limited with the size of battery you can put in there, both in terms of capacity and its dimensions, because higher capacity batteries tend in general to have bigger, they're generally bigger. Even so, you will have some flexibility because some higher quality batteries and some of the more expensive AGM and gel batteries are going to be higher capacity, not so much the gel battery, but certainly AGM and high quality lead acid batteries. But then you may be able to put the battery in, if you buy an AGM or a gel battery, on its side, or squiggle it in some other way, which you can't do with a lead acid battery. So you will have some flexibility. In an older motorhome like our 96 Swift, you generally will have a lot more flexibility because the batteries were quite often placed in places like under the seats. so you'll have a lot more space to put them. But if that's the case, do bear in mind that lead acid batteries do vent, so make sure you've got enough ventilation so that the hydrogen doesn't run up to anything like acceptable quantities. Now the next thing is the sorts of things you're going to be doing in your motorhome, and as I said, is that going to be spending a lot of time off grid with lots of accessories on, lots of consecutive nights between charges, or are you going to spend a lot of time on caravan and motorhoming clubs sites, hooked up to a high capacity hookup? So only you know what that'll be, but do be realistic, because I know there's a bit of a Bear Grylls in all of us, otherwise we'd stay in hotels and not in motorhomes. But are you really going to spend all your winter, or say January, in the Grampians, freezing cold with all the accessories on? Or alternatively, are you really going to spend all your days on a site with a high capacity hookup? Of course, if you are going to spend a lot of time off grid, that's a high capacity battery, and if you do spend all your time hooked up, you really only need a tiny capacity leisure battery. But my guess is it's going to be somewhere between the two, so just be realistic when you're assessing where the balance is between off grid and being hooked up.
Number 4 is how much work you're going to be asking your battery to do for you, and this is where it gets a bit complicated. So that's why I'm sitting here in front of our trusty steed Ermintrude, trying to relax a little bit because it gets a bit complicated. So first of all, you've heard me talking about battery capacity quite a bit, and we all know that batteries are measured in amp hours, but what does that actually mean? Well, if you've got a 100 amp hour battery connected to your 12 volt system, and that 12 volt system is drawing 100 amps, theoretically that battery will last for an hour. On the other hand, if you're only drawing 1 amp from your 12 volt system, theoretically that battery will last you for 100 hours. Now that is in theory world. In real world, things are considerably different because a large capacity, a significant capacity of your battery's current will not be available to you. Also, it depends how old your battery is, whether it's been fully charged obviously, and how quickly you're drawing current from that battery. So how do you work out what capacity battery is right for your needs? Right, number 1 then, firstly, is that you need to identify all the 12 volt accessories in your motorhome that will be drawing current from your battery. Now on the face of it, this should be nice and easy. There's things like lights and your water pump, but there are other things which aren't quite so obvious, such as maybe your TV and gadgets that you plug into an inverter. I'll talk about inverters in a different video. So things like your laptop, which although it's usually plugged into the 230 volt system, if you plug it into your 12 volt system, will be drawing current from your leisure battery. So the second thing to do, which is a little bit more time consuming, believe me, is to work out how much current each of those accessories draws. Now I'm not going to get into a great deal of detail here because it will take me forever to do, but what I will do is post something below in the narrative which should make your life trying to find all that information out a little bit easier. So the third thing is to work out how long you're going to be drawing current from the accessories for. So for example, how long do you have your lights on for in a day? How long is your water pump on, or how long is your water pump pumping for in a day? And how long are you on Netflix for on your laptop during a day? So once you've done all those 3 things, in other words, you know which accessories are on the 12 volt system, you know what current they're drawing, and you know how long they're drawing current for, you can then work out which leisure battery is suitable for your needs. So let's say that in your motorhome you have 4 reading lights, each drawing 4 amps, and you have them on for 4 hours a day. So in total then you're drawing 16 amps from your battery for 4 hours a day. So if you've got a 70 amp hour battery, and don't worry about the sums here, that means that you will be plunged into darkness in theory somewhere halfway through the evening of your 5th day. In practice it's probably going to be a lot earlier than that. So let's look at it from the perspective of actually choosing a leisure battery for your needs, which is why we set out to do this video in the first place. So if you have worked out that you're going to be drawing 30 amps from your 12 volt system for an average of 2 hours a day, and you'd want to be off grid while camping for 2 days between charges, then a 120 amp hour battery will power you for 2 days in theory. In reality, it's probably going to be quite a bit less than that, so you're going to need a larger battery than 120 hours. So that's just about it in terms of the main criteria you should look for and how to use them to work out what leisure battery you need. But I did say there were some secondary considerations, and I'm quickly going to skip through those now. So the first thing, there are four actually. The first thing is battery life expectancy, which should be self-explanatory. The second thing is resistance to rapid discharge and recharge. So if you spend a lot of time off grid using a lot of current from your battery and then recharge it rapidly when you have the chance, that is potentially damaging to your battery, so you may want to look at that. If you watched my last video, you will have seen that some batteries, or most batteries, or all batteries actually, are damaged if you discharge them too much. Now some batteries can withstand deep discharging more than others, so if you're going to spend a lot of time off grid and you're going to draw a lot of current from your battery, then this is going to be important to you. So if you're going to spend a lot of time, weeks or months off grid, and you're using your leisure battery a lot, so it gets discharged a lot and recharged a lot, then the life cycle of the battery obviously will be very important to you. Alright, so that's it for this video. In the next video we are going to reintroduce you to the inside of Old Ermintrude here, because what I'm going to talk about is if you want a lot of battery capacity, for example, I don't know, 200, 250 amp hours, then you potentially want to be connecting your batteries together. So how do you do that? And that will be the subject of my next video. So once again, thanks ever so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Hope you've enjoyed the video, interesting as it has been. Please do subscribe, because I mentioned in my last video I'm on a bit of a challenge to get up to 1,000 subscribers, which, if you see the bottom here, I've got quite a long way to go. And ring the little bell, or click on the little bell if you want to be notified when I put up another video. So thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in a week or so when I put my next video up.